The Apprentice podium style at the White House. We've got that plus a bunch of new ads may signal a big difference for the next two election cycles. Our all-star panel is here. Welcome to the Sean Spicer Show. Let's get into it. All right, guys, good Thursday to you. So we get ready to kick into this Memorial Day weekend, but we've got some fun content to break through this weekend. As I said earlier this week, JD Vance taking the podium. I wanted to break it down with the panel today. Plus, and obviously a lot of comparisons. I got a bunch of calls. How did he do versus Marco Rubio? So we'll get the panel's take on that. I don't think that I know everybody's trying to look at those things in the same light. I'm not sure that was the way to go. Anyway, and then we're seeing these new kind of political ads from Spencer Pratt, Bruce Blakeman, and in New York. So I want to break these things down. It's unbelievable. And you're not going to guess what Hakeem Jeffries is now doing to drag college students into the Voting Rights Act debacle. It is unbelievable. So we got a lot to break down, plus winners and losers, as we always do. Tomorrow, by the way, I'm doing something a little different. I bumped into Tim Burchett. You guys might remember I saw him on Capitol Hill. We talked about what he knows about UFOs, what the government's hiding. Anyway, I'm going to break this all down. Jessica Reed Krause was at a bunch of briefings here on Capitol Hill and throughout Washington. I'm going to get her take. And then there's a guy named Kent Heckenlively. He's written a best-selling book on the government and UFOs. And so I don't know. I'm really kind of interested in what we know, what we should know, the interest in this. So we've got it. And then Victor Davis Hanson will be back here on Memorial Day. So without further ado, I want to bring in my colleague on the First Television Network, Mike Slater, the host of Politics by Faith, Grace Curley, our correspondent up there in Boston, and also the host of the Grace Curley Show, and our good friend, the senior politics reporter at the Daily Caller, Ashley Brassfield. Good to see you all. I don't know if it's just because I was press secretary and I was just a little jealous of how everyone else did this, but I was amazed at how both Marco Rubio and JD Vance did really, really well at the podium. I give both of them A's. They were, they both did it in their own special way. Just as a refresher, I want to play how JD Vance came out and sort of started his little press briefing off. Take a look.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. How you guys doing? Good. Okay, I've got my cheat sheet here, so I know who to call on, most importantly, who not to call on. Let me start out with a few things. So first of all, proud to announce that next week I will be speaking at the Air Force Academy commencement ceremony.
Ashley, I want to start with you. I mean, you guys have reporters in there day in and day out. What was sort of the reporter take on how JD Vance did?
Yeah, I think that we had our own correspondent at the Daily Caller, Reagan Reese, in the room, and she actually got called on by the vice president. She was very excited about that. She had the seat that day. But, I mean, he went on for quite a while. You know, I would say Caroline Leavitt takes that podium for about a good 30 minutes, which is a long time. And you have experience, of course, up there yourself and battling the questions. But, I mean, I remember I had a colleague leave our office and then come back, and he was still going about an hour later. So, I mean, if that tells you anything, he handled it, I think, quite well, took a lot of questions. And obviously, at a certain point, you kind of probably get through that list of reporters that they tell you to call on, and you keep going. So, I mean, if that's anything to tell about how the vice president did, I think that's where he was at. But also you have the comparisons being made, like you said, with Marco Rubio and him. And I think it's a little early to be making those, obviously. But I mean, both of them have taken that podium relatively recently. And I both think they handled themselves rather well. Of course, I think the master at it being that Caroline Leavitt has been very impressive in that position. She's, of course, on maternity leave now. So they both stepped up.
Mike Slater, you know what was funny to me? I got a bunch of reporters that called me to ask me to, what did you think? And I said, just stop for a moment and recognize this. I get everyone wanting to do the comparisons, and I'm with Ashley on this. Like, there's plenty of time and whatever. But I said, the first time that I didn't brief, I called the president and I said, Mr. President, I have to go on reserve duty. I'll be at the Pentagon tomorrow. And he said, great. Sarah's going to do it tomorrow, right? She'll do the briefing. That's how it's supposed to work. You have deputies. They come in. And instead of a deputy, they had the Secretary of State, who, by the way, and again, this is what gets lost in this discussion. The Secretary of State has his own briefing room at the State Department and his own press corps. And here's Marco Rubio coming over and doing a press briefing. And then the Vice President of the United States stepping in for Caroline. Like, this is so different how business is conducted there. And normally it should have been, in the past, it would have been one of Caroline's deputies that would have gotten up there. And now it's, let's put the JD, the vice president, let's put Marco Rubio. Like, this is a totally different dynamic. These guys are breaking every mold.
That's such a good point. I never thought of that. Like how bizarre it is that these guys even did it at all. But Trump's a showman, right? So we got to put on a show. Who's going to put on the best show? How are we going to make this different? How are we going to make this exciting? How can we best spread our message? They did an awesome job. There was one moment of the JD press conference in particular when this guy from The Independent went on and did this ridiculous speech. And JD is so quick, and Marco too. They're both so quick, they're so sharp, so smart that they can pause in the moment. Like, I'm nervous being on the Sean Spicer show, right? So being on like the TV like that, like he's up there, like your mind is spinning and fast, but they're so good that they're calm. And when you're calm, you can think faster. So he was able, JD was able to pause in the moment and be like, hold on, everyone. Did you just see what this joker did? This guy did a 2-minute speech about how much he hates me and then said, what do you think about how hated you are? And like, he was able to pause in the moment.
I want to show, because I think this is great, but let's show people what that question is. A guy's named Andrew Feinberg. This is what he asked JD and how JD responded. Take a look.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. The president's financial disclosures were released recently, and they showed a lot of stock trades in companies that he has talked up at events, official events at the White House, on his True Social account, sometimes even putting the stock ticker symbols in his posts and encouraging people to buy their stock. Americans, according to recent polling, are increasingly describing the president as corrupt. And trading stocks...
This is a hell of a question.
Thank you, sir. Trading individual stocks is something that you said that public officials should not be able to do when you ran for Senate all those years ago. And yet the president, who arguably has access to more non-public information than your average senator, is not only buying and selling individual stocks either through his trust.
Okay. What's the question?
Yeah. The question, sir, is how can you and your administration argue to Americans that you're cleaning up corruption, you're preventing fraud, you're fighting the sorts of things that harm people and people's financial situations, when the president seems to be talking up stocks that he owns, selling them, and enriching himself?
Okay, so here, let me answer your question here. That was a doozy. Before I answer your question, I want to just observe there are different ways to ask a question. Okay, you could just ask a question, try to get your answer, or you could do like a speech where you say, Mr. Vice President, you're a terrible human being, and so is the president, and so is the entire cabinet. And then I'm like, what's your question? And then your question is, how dare you? Come on, man. Have a little bit of objectivity in the way that you ask these questions, because there were a lot of things in that speech masquerading as a question that didn't actually get asked, okay? Number one, the president doesn't sit at the Oval Office on his computer on his like Robinhood account buying and selling stocks. That's absurd. He has independent wealth advisors who manage his money.
All right, Mike, this gets to your point, like, right? He didn't accept the premise of the question. He basically was like, this is I remember that. I think the guy's name was John Rocker, the pitcher. He's like, that's a clown question, bro.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you have to be quick to do that. It's one thing to be a stand-up comedian. It's another to do crowd work. You have to be so fast, so quick, but also so in the moment. And JD's super good at that, as is Marco Rubio.
Grace, it was funny. He also, when he came out, he was talking about Caroline and making himself very personal. I didn't know, as a mom, like, take a listen to how he handled this initial thing about, hey, I'm filling in for Caroline. Take a look.
I will say thank you all. It's cool to be here. I'm going to give a shout out, of course, to the person I am replacing today, Carolyn Levitt, who hopefully is at home enjoying some time with her beautiful kids. I told Carolyn I would stand in for her today for the White House press briefing on the condition that when Usha has our baby in July, that she would be vice president for a couple weeks. So,
I mean, Grace, there was a little bit of levity and humor. I thought it was adorable. It was kind of. Did you think it went over well with the crowd?
Yeah, well, they seem like tough laughers. They don't seem to be giving him a lot of laughs. I thought he did a great job. There were so many good points that were just made. I want to hit on the fact that we're comparing Marco and JD a lot, which is fair. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Trump's having people do like applause. Who do you like more? So this is definitely in the air. But I think we also would do well to compare this to the last administration when we had KJP, and you mentioned that oftentimes if it wasn't KJP, I mean, it certainly was not Kamala Harris who was coming in to take over. It was John Kirby. And it was like, I always compared it to the press secretary, and this is no shade, Sean, if you disagree with this assessment, you can tell me, but it's kind of like the cleanup crew. You're there to explain what the president has said, to put a PR spin on things, to get out a message for sure, but also, to try to frame things in a good way for the White House. And they always had a person in there who would make a mess of it. That was KJP. And then they'd bring in John Kirby to fix her mess, and he would make a bigger mess of it. And then they'd have to bring in someone, and it just went on and on and on. And so just to watch JD Vance and to watch Marco Rubio and to watch Caroline Leavitt, these people with such a command of the facts and who are able, you're absolutely right, to pause and to take a minute. And the fact that he called out that grandstanding is so important because it's become the norm in these press briefing rooms where you ask these long ass questions and you pretend that they're, you're morally superior to the person at the podium. And it's like, you almost want to say to that guy, people didn't vote for you. People are here to watch me answer questions. I don't know what part of this confused you where you thought we all bought a ticket to watch your show and sit here and listen to you go on and on and on. But it's also, and I'm not a journalist, I'm a commentator, but sometimes when I have a guest on, Sean, and I go on and on and on before a question, I feel like an idiot. I feel like, I've been
what's funny? You know what's funny that you say that? And Mike, we all host different things. I know Ashley does a lot of commentary. When I had the first time I got into TV, they hired a media trainer for me. And they asked a very simple question, which is, who do you like listening to and why? And I never thought about this, but Grace just touched on this. And Mike, I'd love you, any of you guys to weigh in on it. But it was fascinating because this is exactly the case in the White House briefing room. When you ask a question, the simple rules. So that question that Andrew Feinberg could ask, Mr. Vice President, previously you've stated that trading stocks for public officials is wrong. Do you still agree with that? Do you stand by that? Whatever. Yeah. Full stop. Not Mr. President in 1917, the first, I felt like he was wanting to hear himself, and that was Grace's point. But the simple question wins.
Right, exactly. And I want to come at this from a reporter angle. I mean, you could have shortened that delivery in a 25-second question. I think it was actually a valid question, Sean. And if he had gotten there faster, I think people would have, comprehended it better. And he probably would have gotten a better answer from the vice president on it. So, he was exactly right. The president did post on his Truth Social stock tickers. Another question about it that was asked was the idea that a question was asked last week in front of Marine One by our own reporter, Reagan Reese at the Daily Caller, which is more of a conservative leaning outlet. I think many view that as our company as that. And it was a valid question. And honestly, the president answered it in a kind of a shocking way. I think we all felt that about the Americans' financial situation. And maybe he could elaborate on that. But I think following those two things up was a valid question. It's the delivery here because they want to be the front and center star of the show in the press briefing room. And we've talked about this on here, actually, about the types of people in that room. And so I think you could have gotten the American people a better answer just off of delivery alone.
Yeah, it shows that he's not interested in the truth, right? If he's interested in the truth, you ask the question, you listen to the answer. That's not what they're striving for at all. And this has always bothered me when reporters, another thing, they ask two questions. And you're like, man, you're giving leeway for the person to pick which one they want to answer. They're never going to answer both properly, and make it quick so they can't. It makes it harder to dodge. If you throw 100 balls, they're going to dodge them. But if you give one sniper shot, they can't get out of it as easily. So don't ask two questions either.
It's kind of like being a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. All I am is a commentator. But I noticed with lawyers, it's like you ask a quick question and then the advice on the person answering it is just answer the question. But Ashley, and Sean, I'm not trying to hijack, but Ashley, I would ask you, since you're the reporter here, does it not strike you when he's asking that question that he's not prepared? Like that he didn't spend, because I'm sure when Reagan Reese goes in there, she's got that sniper question that is, and she's practiced it. Like she's like, okay, I probably am going to get one shot at this. Here's the question. He's only going to be able to answer it in this many ways. The way that guy was rambling on, I'm like, did you not even prepare this properly?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that first question that Reagan Reese asked, that it was embedded in his own question, was in front of Marine One. The helicopter, loud noises are happening, so you have to be sharp, direct, and loud for the president to hear that question. He heard it loud and clear, and he gave his answer. Obviously, it was a answer that made news, and obviously, it's embedded in that question now, and being talked about over and over again. But that's my point here: is that she wants to be sharp. She wants to get the best answer for our readers here at the Daily Caller and for Americans. I mean, we're in America first outlet. That's how the media should be portraying itself, at least. If they may be lying about it most of the time, but I mean, you should be getting answers that Americans want to hear. That should be the goal.
But not even that, but think about the question that Marco answered that went viral, right? So Kelly Wright, formerly of Fox, now CBN, said, "What's your message to America as we hit our 250? Full stop.
Right.
No wind up, no nothing. Simple question." And it was funny. I've told Kelly this to his face, by the way. I was like, oh my God, Marco's just going to bat it away. Right. Oh, I think, and he crushed it.
Yeah.
But when I talked to Kelly about it, he said, because exactly what Mike Slater just said. It was like, he prepared that question. I said, did you think of that off the top of your cut? Like, he goes, no, I went in and I wanted something very surgical. What's your message as we do this? And he got a great answer. And that's, Ashley, you just said this. I've told reporters this before. President Trump will answer any question, and he's proven that. But if you really, truly care about the answer, if that's really what you care about, then keep it simple. And now, I'm not telling you how to do your job, but if you actually care about if your job is to get information, then you wind up for 35 seconds and are like, 7 years ago, you're going to get some stupid answer. Or to Mike's point, you ask 5 things and say part 1, part 2, part 3, he's going to pick the one that he wants. But if it's a simple down the plate question, they'll hit it out of the park every time and you'll get your answer.
What was the news on this? Oh, reporter asked a 1.5-minute long question to JD Vance. That's the news. Right,
but the answer was we all mocked the guy. We didn't answer. No one focused on what the vice president said. We mocked the reporter, not the answer.
Because the guy is a narcissist and not smart. So narcissists want to hear themselves talk. They don't care what the answer ever is. And also a smart person will think, all right, if I ask this question, he could answer it this way.
And even if not the case, he's just unprepared.
They work it through like second, third order thinking, and he never did that because he's not a smart person.
I go back to what Grace said. I don't think he actually, like most of these guys will write it down. And you're right. I've watched reporters. They'll practice their question. Because again, and also, I've most good reporters will go in. I've been to enough of the briefings, and I've been on the flip side. They'll have 5 written because people will take their question if it's that obvious. They don't know. Am I going to go first when I get called on, or am I 19th? And so I have to have a series of questions in case the first 4 questions I have get taken. But these guys generally are prepared. That was an unprepared reporter who, to Mike's point, was just trying to talk because he was getting camera time. I do want to switch, though, because you want to talk about narcissism. Political ads generally are about these candidates and how great I am and whatever. I actually think we've seen a shift in ads. And I do believe that we're going to see more and more of this, not just in the midterms, but in the next cycle. And sort of exhibit A in my world is what's going on in this LA mayor's race with Spencer Pratt. So I want to show you, first, let me just show you the president of the United States actually weighed in on this race. And I thought it was interesting. Here's President Trump weighing in on the mayor's race and what he thinks of Spencer Pratt. Take a look.
Spencer Pratt, do you see yourself in him at all? A former reality TV star?
No, I'd like to see him do well. He's a character. I don't know him. I assume he probably supports me. Does he support me?
Think so.
I hope so, yeah. I heard he does. I heard he's a big MAGA person. He's doing well. I don't know. If you have a rigged vote out there, that's the problem. The votes are rigged. You have a really rigged vote in California. You have all the mail-in ballots, everything else. Very hard to win because the elections are very dishonest.
All right, we can break out of that. But I mean, I by the way, another good, do you see yourself in him? Because these reality stars, and then Trump goes off. But I actually do find it a nice, interesting parallel. This guy, Trump, rose out of the sort of reality world because he could touch on something that American people were being left behind. And Spencer Pratt is taking the tragedy that occurred when so many people lost their lives because of the incompetency out in California and is saying, great, my house got burnt down. I'm going to turn it into, a passion project to help the people in LA. I mean, to me, this is like this. The Dems are missing the boat over and over again on these key issues.
I'll take it. There will never be another Donald Trump. I've never seen anyone more Donald Trump-like in my entire life. Not only in the rise, but the way he talks. There's something about the way he talks, his posture, his calmness. He never loses his cool. There's something about him. He's so incredibly Trump-like, to the point, I don't know if you guys have this, your crack team, Sean Mike. Did you see the Anthony Jeselnik roast of Trump back in 2010? Do you know the reference I'm making?
No.
Okay. All right. I'll do the best I can with it. So it's the roast of Donald Trump on Comedy Central, like in 2010. So Anthony Jeselnik, who's like the darkest comedian there is, he goes, if you look up, excuse my language here, if you look up the word douchebag in the dictionary, you'll see a picture of Spencer Pratt. But if you look closely, he's holding a picture of Donald Trump. Are you kidding me? What are the chances of that? 15 years ago.
Wow. So yeah, that's, I mean, it all, and by the way, now both of them are rising up. But here's the ad that I think there's a bunch of these ads. There's a bunch of AI ads and they show them as superheroes. And I think they're all interesting and great. But there was one ad in particular that just came out that I think touches on exactly what's going on there, because here's what they're doing. They tried to turn everything against Spencer Pratt, right? Oh, Donald Trump, he's MAGA. He doesn't actually live in the trailer that's on the property that got burned down, right? They're coming at Spencer Pratt very traditionally. Okay. That's how the consultants would have scripted this. Say that he doesn't live in that trailer. Say that he's in a hotel. Say that he's friends with Donald Trump. And so this is the ad that Spencer Pratt put out. Take a look.
All right, class, great job today. Hey, I have to tell you something. Promise you won't get mad? I'm voting for Spencer Pratt. Get mad? I'm voting for Spencer Pratt too. Did someone mention Spencer Pratt? No? No. Oh, because I'm actually voting for him. Oh, so are we. I just don't know if we can say that too loud over here. Say what? Spencer Pratt? He's got my vote. Wait, is everyone here voting for Spencer Pratt?
So let me ask, I want to start with Grace and Ashley. Like, this is clearly targeted at women in LA that are probably a little embarrassed because they went to their hot yoga class outside of Erewhon and they got their juice. And it's making them try to feel comfortable voting for this guy that's technically as a Republican. Does it play with you guys?
I'll go first here, and it does for me. I can't speak for Grace here, but I mean, look, as a Zoomer and seeing these ads, it scratches an itch in my brain a little bit. Like, he's so good at this, and when I mean this, I mean those ads, the way he speaks. It's so relatable. Number one, to Californians, to the Hollywood class, and all he's doing is speaking from experience, authenticity here, and really just saying what common sense things that everybody's noticed, but it really just hasn't pointed out because they're too scared to do it in California. And so I think that, he's got that special edge where he's got the Pilates moms, like he showed in that video, being like, oh, I'm voting for him, and being all quiet about it. But he's also, his wife, Heidi Montage, they've been together. They've been through the ups and downs of reality TV. I mean, he was a hated individual back in the 2010s, so it's not like he's not used to being that in a reality TV sense. But I mean, he really is just, every time I see something new come from that campaign, as somebody who covers campaigns, I mean, he's just good at it, is how I feel about it.
Yeah, and I think there's part of the comparisons to Donald Trump, and Mike was hitting on this. I haven't seen instincts like this since Trump either, and I haven't seen a sense of humor like this, in a sharpness. And I think a part of that is Trump is a New Yorker, and you really can't recreate that with people. It's like there's something about New Yorkers. And there's something about city kids. There's something about people who grew up and they knew the city and they knew where they were. And Spencer Pratt, you can hate him all you want. He's born and bred in LA. He's a smart guy. He gets it. He knows what's going on there. He knows the problems. He's experienced the problems. His house burned down. That's kind of a big one. But I think the humor and the quickness that he has is the most similar to Trump. But the other part of it, when people compare him to Trump and they say, I've heard this from like Chelsea Handler and other liberals. They'll say, have we learned nothing about electing a reality TV star? And I'm like, yeah, we've learned that they can get 77 million people to vote for them. Like, we've learned that maybe Spencer could be president someday. Like, I don't think this comparison to like, we just did this and look how big of a failure it is. The guy you're talking about is currently president of the United States. So we have seen it and it does work. And yeah, I think that he's crushing it. And I think it's his sense of humor. I think it's the fact that he cares. Oh, and one other thing. People keep saying, we keep doing this with reality TV stars. Haven't we learned our lesson? And it's this idea, and it drives me crazy. You've seen it with Mark Wayne Mullen, who's a plumber. You've seen it with Devin Nunes, who's a dairy farmer. It's this idea that unless you're a dinosaur or a Nepo baby who's been in this for 50 years, you don't understand the delicate geniuses that we are and all the things that we're doing to destroy the country. You can't come into our club. You don't get it. We're too smart for you. And it's like, does it ever occur to you people that maybe Spencer Pratt would be happy to be filming his hummingbirds and be a TV villain, but because you are so incompetent, he feels as though he has to get involved? Like, maybe if you guys did a good job, you wouldn't have all of these other people from the private sector wanting to get in here and fix your problems.
But can I just say this, Mike? I'm sorry, because I'm so glad Grace hit on this, because this I wasn't sure I was going to go there, and then you hit it perfectly, because what pisses me off is the Chelsea Handler line that so many people on the left are parroting. I can't believe we're electing another person like this. And I'm like, first of all, Donald Trump's been extremely successful, not just getting, I get your point about getting elected, but you think about the stuff that the guy's gotten done. And the other thing, and this is what I really wanted to get to. I'm sorry. The guys in California suck. In particular, it's the same crap, and somehow the default is okay. So you want to keep electing people who don't get crap done. You want to keep allowing homelessness and education to go in the tubes, and that's the system you guys want to defend? Are you really sure? Because right now, I'll take anybody other than the status quo. I'm sorry, Mike. I know you wanted to jump in.
They're doing, the everything's fine strategy. That ain't gonna work. Didn't work for Biden, and anyone could go outside in LA and look around. My favorite Spencer Pratt ad is it's a drone going down just your quintessential Los Angeles neighborhood street, not Bel Air, not with mansions, just your classic middle class street in LA. And it's going down and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful street and it's beautiful music in the background. And then at the end, there's a homeless encampment at the end of the street, at the end of the 30-second ad. And the line is something like, your street deserves better. Your family deserves better. Los Angeles deserves better. And that ad and the one I just described are the two best ads I've ever seen in any political campaign. They're brilliant. They touch on exactly what needs to be hit. And I think we've all had, let me say one of these points, because I love this so much, Chris, your LA point. Like, Donald Trump is a New Yorker from Queens. Like, that's all you need to know about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And Spencer is a kid born and raised in Los Angeles who knows what it used to be. Mm-hmm. Not some woman from India who went to Harvard and thinks that this is just like a little plaything, that like a little sandbox she can play her crazy communist ideas in. And Karen Bass, who's obviously an abject failure, burn the city down. She's terrible. And like this guy's born and bred LA. He is LA in his bones to his core, and he knows what it used to be and what it can be again. And that says a lot.
Well, Mike, you chose two ads to highlight. The last one that we just showed really, I think, was giving the permission to women, LA, liberal Democrats, to say, hey, the water's warm, you can jump in, you're not alone. But then he just released one that goes after guys like me and you. It's a variation on this. I want to show it to you because I think this one now takes the cake. Take a look.
This mayor race is really heating up. Who you guys voting for? Haven't decided? Same, haven't really been following it. Same. I'm not MAGA or anything, but the city's kind of gone to shit though, right? Oh yeah, Jessica stepped on a needle at the playground the other day. I'm not MAGA or anything though. I'm not MAGA or anything, but have you been downtown lately? Looks like an episode of The Walking Dead. Not that I'm MAGA or anything though. Spencer Pratt seems like he has some good ideas. Not that I'm MAGA or anything. He does seem really angry all the time though. Well, they did burn his house down. Also, apparently he's staying at the Bel Air Hotel, not the trailer on his property. Well, yeah. They burned his house down. Okay, we're all adults here. How about on 3, we just say who we're voting for? 1, 2, 3. Spencer Pratt. Yeah. Spencer Pratt. Can you imagine if our wives knew?
We're all voting for Spencer Pratt, right? Of course. Obviously. I wish I could vote like yesterday.
I love this theme, though. It's giving a bunch of liberals, men and women, kind of saying, guys, normally you probably wouldn't have this conversation, but we're that bad in LA that like we giving ourselves permission to get out of our liberal enclave and vote for this guy.
Yes, regular people. I had almost that exact same moment. This is the moment I knew that Donald Trump was going to win back in 2016. It was, we were in an Uber. I was in a van. It was just me, the Uber driver. There was a guy next to me, and we were talking about politics, whatever. And the guy, and we were like, who are you going to vote for? And the guy turns around to check if there's anyone in the back seat. And then he says, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. Why did he have this instinct to like make sure there was no one else listening?
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I was like, oh, there's a big silent Trump support out there. And we'll see if there's a big silent Spencer Pratt support out there.
I'm telling you, I've been doing this a long time, guys, 30 years. I'm with you guys. You very rarely get that spidey sense that something's different. And I love because what they're tapping into, and this is kind of what I wanted to get at originally, like they're tapping into with these ads. They're not doing the traditional, your taxes are too high, property taxes are through the roof. They've gone up 76% over Saturday. Vote Spencer Pratt, Karen Bass must go. I mean, that's your typical political ad. But these guys, I think Mondami did a good job in New York. Give him credit for what he did on his ads. Okay, I'm not saying he's a good guy or his policies, but I think he tapped into New Yorkers' frustration with how things were going. And then Spencer Pratt's doing this, and there's a guy named Bruce Blakeman that's doing it in New York. But this is, I think, the whole new future of ads as we go into the cycle. Less the traditional consultant, statistic-based, vote. And tapping into that visceral sense of, like, here's what is frustrating you. Here's the guy or the girl that can make it better.
Yeah, 100%. And also, like in Massachusetts, Tip O'Neill once said all politics is local. And that's an Achilles heel for Democrats, because when you look at local politics, when you look at what's really happening, that's why they want to go. And that's what was my favorite part of that ad with the men barbecuing. I'm not MAGA or anything, because that's really drilling down on what their only saving grace is. And we saw this on the debate stage with Karen Bass, where if they can say he's a fascist, he's MAGA, they just think they can throw out these buzzwords and it's going to negate any of the progress he's making. And the truth is that nowadays, and I did this on my show recently, I said, let's do a quiz of, are you a fascist? Are you MAGA? Do you not want homeless people pooping on the side of the street? Do you not want to step on needles when you go to your children's park? You might be a fascist. You might be MAGA. That's how they want to play it. And the fact that he's taking that and he's going, you guys keep calling me MAGA, I'm going to make a joke out of it. And I'm going to make people see how ridiculous it is. And I'm going to own it. And I'm going to take that power back. That's what makes the ad. It's like, that's what it means to be MAGA, is wanting a little bit of safety and prosperity for where you live. We've lost the plot.
Yeah, and totally he's leaned in, if anything. I mean, you saw this with Donald Trump with the garbage truck on the 2024 campaign trail. Spencer Pratt makes an ad about being the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So, I mean, when he gets hit by TMZ about basically staying at the hotel because his home burned down. I mean, every time they lean in, that's pretty much what the strategy should be. I mean, campaigns are tough. There's going to be oppo against you. But I think if you lean in and try your best on that, I mean, obviously right now with Donald Trump's record, it had a winning strategy in that way.
And Grace, on your local point, I can't accentuate enough how important MAGA control over DC is. This is our little petri dish. Like, we're never going to win the city council of Chicago. We're never going to have a mayor of Boston, a Republican mayor, a conservative mayor of Boston. What? Sorry to say, not in our lifetimes. But we have this city, DC, our nation's capital, that Trump and Jeanine Pirro have control over, and they can clean up the parks, and they can get Meridian Fountain working again. Local DC News took a camera there, and it looks like Paris. And they interviewed all these regular, normal people, probably Democrats, and they're all like, this place is great. It's clean.
Right.
And I've never seen people here in my life, and it's awesome. And you're like, yeah, that's MAGA. That's it, people.
But I love this point, because like, lean in and own it. Yeah, if MAGA is cleaning up a city, if MAGA is taking crime rates down, if MAGA is enforcing our border laws, if MAGA is cheap prescription drugs, then be MAGA. I mean, like, this is the beauty of what his ad did, is it took it back and it said, You want, great. But here's what, by the way, here's the flip side. And this is the important thing. This is Karen Bass, the mayor, doing an interview with Elix Millicent of CNN about why she wants to run for re-election, or why she's running for re-election and what she'll do. Take a look.
When you talked to Jake Tapper in 2023, you said that your goal was to end street homelessness in LA by 2026. It's now 2026.
And we haven't ended it.
We have not ended it, and we're not close to ending it. How are you so off?
Well, basically, when I said that, it was at the beginning of my term. I am very committed to achieving that goal. I didn't anticipate some of the bureaucratic barriers that I would experience, but I am prepared to take those on now.
But you promised that it would go away 100%, and it's only gone down about 17.6%.
Right.
So why should people trust you that you're going to be able to get to the 100%?
Because let me just tell you, for the first time, we've had a decrease at all. Yeah. There was not a decrease before at all.
You know, I mean, hey, look, I've only been in politics for a really long time, and I kind of said things, and I didn't really. I mean, this is who Chelsea Handler is defending, saying, hey, let's keep these experienced people in office who will continue to lie to us and not get the things done that they said.
Yeah, it's not going down. Homelessness is not going down. I used to live in San Diego. There are no-go zones in San Diego, like Petco Park, the Major League Baseball stadium. You cannot go to these places. It's totally infested. Homelessness is not going down. That's based off this count they do once a year, and it's not accurate in any way. Every single thing these politicians, from Gavin Newsom, same thing when he was mayor of San Francisco like 15, 20 years ago, he said the same thing. We're going to eliminate homelessness in 10 years. It's like quadruple, right? So everything they do increases homelessness. All their ideas, housing first, all this nonsense, free needles, you name it, every policy they've ever proposed increases the amount of homelessness. It is not going down, and everyone's like, oh, it's a lot of people, their supporters, think it's just fine. That's where Spencer Pratt's doing so good.
I also think, I mean, I played beach volleyball out in California growing up. And when Gavin Newsom got in, I saw the rapid decline of the state. You're in Santa Monica trying to play a beach volleyball tournament. You're in the middle of the court and you find a needle, like they said in that ad. That is exactly right. And then you look up on the cliff and there's homeless encampments on the cliff in Santa Monica. It's insane. And then, I mean, just watching Karen Bass talk there, I mean, she's going to lose off the record because of the homelessness. You see it everywhere. It's right in front of your face. But also, I mean, just a vibe check on that video. Spencer Pratt's just cooler. I mean, when I watched that video and as a young person, I'm like, this woman is not going to win because she really can't speak to young people. And, you know, I mean, all of Spencer Pratt has to go on a video and say is Karen Bassura. And then it's basically a winning argument already because of the record and just because of vibes, really.
She doesn't seem overly worked up about she doesn't seem like someone with a sense of urgency. She's very laissez-faire. Hey, we're trying our best. But what Mike just said about the numbers is so true, because this is a classic thing with Democrats. It's like you recategorize or you relabel things, and then you're able to say, well, based off our numbers, they do the same thing with crime. You don't consider anything a crime, and then you say crime has plummeted, and it's absolutely absurd. But I just think it's almost too cliche to have a politician who sits there and goes, yeah, so I just figured out what the problem is right now. So I need you to elect me one more time because now I have the answer. I thought I had the answer before, but 4 years later, everything's worse. Now I found the answer. Just give me one more try. I feel the same way about this that Spencer Pratt does. If people believe this and they vote for her, there's really nothing else he could have done because there's just no coming back for people who buy that.
No. I do want to get to winners and losers because that's always one of my favorite parts. And I'm literally editing as we go because there's so many things that I wanted to touch on this week, including the fact that like Hakeem Jeffries, I'll save that for a second because let's just go around the horn. I'll explain why I think he's going to be my loser. And so let's just start with that. Who do you guys think lost the week? Mike Slater, you're new to us. Give us who you think lost the week.
Oh, who lost the week? I mean, Cornyn. Let's go. Let's do Murkowski. When Murkowski came out and said she's such a loser. When Murkowski came out and said, we're never going to be able to get anything done now because Cornyn, like, get out of here. You guys never get anything done anyway. And the only reason, Murkowski, you're in office is because, first of all, you rigged the voting up there with the ranked choice voting. Yes. But also your dad, when he was elected governor, appointed you as governor to take over his Senate seat. You have no business being there at all. You're the worst of them all. All these rhinos, it's time we drain the swamp, and we're doing it. 10 Republican senators are now not going to be in the Senate next year. A couple of them are good, right? Like Tuberville and Marsha Blackburn. They're becoming governors, but the rest of them, get these clowns out of here.
Yeah. Grace Curley, who do you think lost the week?
I'm going to say the podcast wing of the far right, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens. They really put a lot in here for Thomas Massie, and it didn't come to fruition for them.
Wait, were they all? I didn't know. Are they all on board on Massie? I didn't know that.
I think that Tucker. I think that really any of their endorsements just didn't pan out. Not specifically Massie, but just a lot of them were not what they wanted it to be. And I know that he went on with Tucker Carlson, and I just think he's going to join the podcast circuit. And I would say he's a loser and they're losers, and it was just kind of losers all around.
Yeah, I will say, well, that'll play into my winner in a second, because I have Ashley, who do you think lost the week?
So this is a very DC specific one, but the owner of Busboys and Poets, a DC coffee chain you might have heard of, named Andy Shahal, he's getting sued by an author that put out a transgender book. We just put out an exclusive report at the Daily Caller about it. But he's, pandered to the Black community in DC.
It's a very, very woke leftist.
Yes, but I mean, the book was basically a transgender book talking about the transgender experience. They had a contract. He basically went back on the contract, took it away from the author. So we just did this exclusive piece on that. But quite a guy. So check it out.
Wait. So the author is your loser, or the owner of the restaurant?
The owner, Andy Shahal.
Because why?
He's an Iraqi-born citizen.
Did he come out against the author?
Yes. And so this book is by a mixed race author, a Black and white mixed race author. But he wrote in the idea of a transgender character. And so by doing that, basically it's a separate but equal standard that's kind of happening with that bookstore and this author. But you got to check out the piece.
I will, because this is, by the way, I love when these guys who try to hug the far left get screwed by their own folks. It's like Dance with the Devil. And it's so my loser of the week is Hakeem Jeffries for this reason. He is now trying to bring athletes who are playing at schools that are going to be addressed by the Voting Rights Act and saying you shouldn't play for schools. Which, again, go have your policy fight. You guys started this, whatever. But don't drag the kids in who are, getting a free ride somewhere or trying to get their NIL money, which I have a whole separate problem with. But he is now trying to say if you want to punish, you're going to punish the colleges, especially in the South, for how they're handling. And again, it is their fault, but that they have these Voting Rights Act districts the court struck down. And now you're going to punish the colleges and the students. I get Hakeem Jeffries is pissed because he's very ineffective, but don't blame them. All right, let's go to winners. Mike, again, who do you think had a good week?
We're going to go with Mark Cuban.
I was going to do this. I'm so glad you. All right, go there. Tell me why.
We have two egos, right? Trump and Cuban.
Uh-huh.
They don't have grudges, and Trump's never held grudges if you come back.
Right.
And you do the right thing. And they're both up there and celebrating this wonderful thing.
Trump RX thing.
Needs to stick. It hasn't stuck yet. The importance of, I've never seen such price transparency. I did this for a medicine that I had the other day. And it shows all the prices for all the pharmacies within like a certain mile radius. I've never seen that price.
I literally, Mike Slater, if we had had time, I was going to get to this because him bringing Cuban up and then Cuban praising him for what he's doing on Trump RX. Again, it's sort of like, hey, look, at the end of the day, they had their differences in the election. Trump got asked about it. Great. I'm glad you touched on this because I totally agree. Grace Curley, who do you have?
Kind of a little bit similar to Mike. Mine is the billionaires this week. I know that they're oftentimes made out to be the villains, but it's like they're changing their PR strategy. You had Jeff Bezos, who recently did an interview where he's fighting back on this idea of like paying your fair share as if he doesn't pay taxes. You had Ken Griffin, who called Mayor Mamdani's bluff and said, I'll go to Miami. And now Mamdani's walking it back. The Seattle mayor is also walking back her comments about, millionaires can leave if they don't like it. And so I like the fact that these billionaires, they've been a punching bag, and I think they're okay with it because they're billionaires and they have other things to do. But they're finally saying, like, this is a myth, this idea that if you take more money from us, you're going to fix anything.
Right,
so
I know.
Let's stop it right now, and they're doing a good job of it.
Ashley, who do you have as your winner?
I feel like I've broken record right now, but I think Spencer Pratt, he survived kind of the first gut punch in the campaign with that TMZ report coming out about the Bel Air Hotel. But like I said, he leaned in, so winner on my end.
All right, the winner to me tonight because it's going to be just tonight, is late night viewers. Stephen Colbert and The Late Show go off the air. I'm so excited. Byron Allen, I think, is the guy that's going to replace him, who's committed to real comedy. We are winners that we're not having this late night, which is masquerading as political theater anymore, at least on one network. So congratulations to all you guys. Hey, thank you all for being here. I love the conversation today. We left a lot on the cutting room floor because it was such a great discussion. Remember, tomorrow, guys, I got this great discussion on UFOs because I'm intrigued. I'll see if you are as well on whether or not the government's covering up what we should know, what we don't know about these UAPs. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. We'll see you back here tomorrow on the Sean Spicer Show.